So, I just want to talk about confidence and leadership. And from what I see in our, well, really all day to day life, but specifically in the political realm and any level of government, from local city government all the way up to federal, that the so called leaders they have in place, do they appear to be actual leaders? Does anyone know what a real leader is? Most people attribute a leader to be someone elected to an office or have some type of authority in any way. But authority in office alone doesn't guarantee that someone is an effective leader. A lot of people will also say that, someone's a natural born leader. But can someone be natural born leader? I don't think so. In fact, you're taught in the military that there is no such thing as a natural born leader. Because nobody just knows how to lead. See, leadership is a skill set. It's something that has to be learned. You have to learn how to instruct people and how to lead them into whatever it is you're doing. And to do that, you must, know yourself well enough, and then you can learn how to guide others. To me, a lot of these so-called leaders we have now don't really know themselves at all. They put on a show as more performance than anything else. And the fact that they've never been trained on how to be a leader, they just simply have charisma, it seems. And people will say that's part of leadership, but it's not necessary. Charisma can help, it can inspire, it can, of course, generate funds and things for donations for a campaign, but how many charismatic leaders have committed atrocities? So charisma alone isn't something that would indicate they're a good leader. Because one of the key things you have to learn about being a leader in the military is also you must first learn to follow. And that is, if you can't follow, you can't be a good leader. Because learning to follow instills the fact that you have to listen to others. You have to take a route, even if it's not something you necessarily agree with. Because you may not always know best. So when these people are put in positions that they've never had to learn to even follow, I see some of them are pretty young, they're just charismatic, they get into these leadership positions, they've never had to follow, they just always been in that position where they're in charge, and they've never had any accountability for, if they make mistakes, it's usually washed off, especially if in the political realm there's no accountability. And without any accountability, there are no consequences for when you're wrong. And part of the problem is also that there are those who will do wrong and they won't address it. They'll just talk louder and beat their chest. So others will confuse that with another thing that is important for leadership, and that's confidence. But a lot of people think that's confidence, but that's not confidence. That's cockiness. Because cockiness is loud. It's belittling. It's gotta be right. You can't argue with it. When confronted with things, it just doubles down. They cannot admit to fault because they see that as a weakness, and in the political realm, that is punished. To admit error is wrong. And that's not what leadership is, because leadership isn't about being right. It's about being responsible. You see so many individuals, it doesn't matter what their political spectrum is, they're like this. They don't want to admit to fault in any way. They just want to be right. But nobody can be right 100% of the time. Can you ever say you've been right about everything your entire life? I know I can't. For one to be able to do a job proficiently, you must be confident. True confidence is stability under pressure. It's being able to stop and assess oneself and to minimize damage where necessary and to help anticipate problems before they arise. And even if that's stepping back or stepping down, when one is in a position where they are unable to do their job, a person who's truly confident will remove themselves from the situation. And that would be a true leader, but you won't see that nowadays because people can't be wrong. Their ego is too large. And when you get these people into the leadership positions, and especially in a system that's clearly broken, that's geared toward generating revenue, that's all anyone ever talks about, is they're going to make money. I don't think the taxpayers are here to front the bill for every little thing someone wants, and they just, because it will slowly erode down. You'll see it in policing, in all city politics, to school systems, to healthcare systems, to our social security. All these things that were put in place to help American citizens are slowly being eroded away by poor leadership because they're not leaders. They're just in it for themselves. And true leaders, part of being an NCO in the military, they have an NCO creed, and in there it says you will place the needs of those appointed below you before the needs of yourself. So that's part of being a leader. And when they're not doing that, they're not a leader. This is why myself, I believe that everyone should join the military and serve at least 4 years in the military as enlisted. Not saying it should be mandatory. I just think it is something that helps teach people, because in the military you have to learn your place, and people don't like that saying about learning your place, but everyone is too obsessed with feeling special, like they're the best, like they deserve so much more, they deserve all this. But everybody would learn their place in the world, that hey, no, I am a public servant, I am not a public master, I'm not a public ruler. But that's what a lot, especially the political people, seem to think. They think they get in this position of authority. It is their place to tell their I can't even say the word, constituents. I keep thinking the Constitution that hey, this is what we're doing. You guys are going to obey this now. I mean, look at all these massive bills they pass. Like thousands of pages that are impossible to read. Nobody can even get through them all by the time the bill is passed. And by the time the bill is passed, we find all these things in there that nobody wants. And they're just things that eat away at our rights. That's why I also believe that bills should only be like 1 to 2 pages and should only contain stuff about that specific bill. Because you'll see them talk about a bill, say, for redoing the education system, but it'll be like 4,000 pages long, and they'll be sending billions of dollars to foreign countries about doing other things. What does that have to do with our education system? You know, it wouldn't make any sense, but you'll see that in all the bills they pass. That has nothing to do with the topic. It's because, you know, whether people find that they're getting kickbacks, which they could be, out of there, because how are so many of our politicians multi-millionaires, you know, especially when they've only been in for a couple of years, they got to be getting money from somewhere. But that's a whole other topic. But the leaders we have now aren't leaders. They're just people who want power, want authority. Our system is clearly broken, and to be able to get any kind of change takes time. And the way it is now, you can't get any meaningful change, especially when they keep giving themselves more power. So something's got to change. Something's got to break the cycle. And it can be several things. The way the world's looking now, that could be something very bad. Where our country's looking, it could be something bad. Or those in power can acquiesce. But will they do that? I don't think they would. There is the option of the Convention of States, which will reduce term limits for all Senate and Congress, because Congress is really where the power is at more than the presidency. So I think that's something that would help. I think destroying the two-party system would help. I think mandating that police have body cameras on at all times and not having the ability to mute will help keep them honest, because you'll see that as a corrupt system. The police are now more as a way to create people to be criminals and to generate revenue from them. It's, you know, they've gone far and away from their big purpose, like, because they're more of a paramilitary force now than they are anything else. It, like where I'm at now, they have completely blacked out cars. You can't even see anything on them at all, suggesting they're police. They hide, you know, in the shadows. They look to creep on people. They're trying, you know, do all the things you've seen of things of trying to make people criminals. And then they'll spend time with their prosecutors, right, to redo their paperwork after they arrest somebody and make sure it sounds well, where you don't get that opportunity to go over this stuff. To me, I think they should, once they submit that form, that's it. They don't get to change it. That is something else that would help. Like, that's a permanent form. It's submitted. You are not allowed to make changes to it. So when they submit that form, they don't get to go over it with the police officer. Well, then, hey, we can't correct any errors. They get to write down what happened, and when they show that, hey, this isn't right, you guys wrote this down, this is all wrong. Well, right, that'd kick out a lot of stuff, but then the city would lose out on chances of getting money out of people. I say, it's when the entire system's rigged against the people. Are we actually free? Do we actually have any freedoms? I mean, George Orwell's book of 1984 was supposed to be a fictionary tale, a warning about things, not a guidebook. That seems what we're going to. Like, look at all the flock cameras they have that track our movements and takes our pictures of our license plate and our faces. And now the police apparently have this system to where They can even access your bank accounts when they're in their cars on their computers. They can see all the bank accounts you have and how much money and all the things you have in there. That why do they need that information? It seems confusing to me. It's like, what is our world coming to when we have no privacy? And this is due to the leaders we put in place, because we turned it into a bureaucracy where they just kind of do whatever they want, and it's how they vote for themselves to get pay raises, which also seems backwards to me. Like, I've never had a job where I get to decide if I get a pay raise. So I think anyone working any kind of public service job should have to do a psych eval, and it should be periodically. When they first get in, and then a point every few years. And I've written up a short letter to my representative. I'll post it in the comments or the description, one of the two, and you let me know what you guys think about that, and if you'd make any changes, let me know. But I gotta get the dog out here. He needs to go to the park again. He has been cooped up, so I need to get him out to play. I just thought I'd check in and tell you my thoughts for the day on the current events I'm seeing of continued escalation of things, because we have no real leaders. It's all ego-driven and cockiness. But let me know what you think. What do you feel what a real leader should have? What kind of traits? And if there's anyone you actually think is a good leader. Because I don't care what party you go with. I don't even choose one or the other. I've never voted for either of the main parties. I've always voted for a third party that I know even probably won't even win, but I just can't bring myself to vote for the two main choices, because from what I've seen, they don't really care about the people. But you have a good day, and again, try to understand where someone's coming from before you attack them for simply having a different opinion, because you'll never learn anything that way.